Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Higher. Louder. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, and welcome. If you could begin to find your seats, please, that would be very helpful. Isn't it fun? Isn't it fun to be in a room with 300 people? Thank you for filling in the seats, please, so that others can join you. So good afternoon and welcome to the Columbus Metropolitan Club. My name is Jane Scott, and it's a privilege to be the president and CEO of the Columbus Metropolitan Club and to be the first to welcome you here this evening on behalf of the Metropolitan Club's Board of Directors. I'm not shy. It's a privilege to be the first to welcome you here this evening on behalf of the Metropolitan Club's Board of Directors, our program committee, and our mighty staff of 4 who do these things every Wednesday. We know we have a lot of guests here this evening, and we always welcome guests to the Metropolitan Club, so please come back often and as many times as you'd like. But you may not know that the Columbus Metropolitan Club was founded in 1976 by 13 women leaders here in Columbus. Who were not always welcomed into the men's clubs. Imagine that, ladies. These women wanted to be part of the conversation. They wanted to be in the room like today. So they started their own organization, and they called it the Columbus Metropolitan Club. And from the very beginning, they made their club 100% inclusive. And we're very happy they did. Today, we have 1,200 members, and we present a community conversation in this room on live stream and televised every Wednesday at noon. And I know many of you are members, and thank you so much for your support. And all of you who are not members, please consider joining the Metropolitan Club. Our founders would be very, very proud that we are hosting this important conversation today with ULI and MORPC, and with more than 300 people in the room. So this is the first time we've really had a gathering of this large of an audience since we had that little hiccup last March. So thank you very, very much to Keith Myers, William Murdock, Alicia Gadsden, Lisa Henson for all the work that they've done to bring this program here today and the inspiration behind it. You're going to be hearing from them, from Keith and William in a little bit. We are live streaming all of our CMC forums on YouTube, as on our CMC YouTube channel, and the Columbus Dispatch live streams our programming. And tonight, NBC4i will be live streaming. So we will go live at 5 o'clock. And I really appreciate you being so well-mannered and finding your seats. We do love our cell phones, so please feel free to take photographs, post them on your social media, and let everybody know what a wonderful evening you're having. But we do need you to turn off the ringers, because we've discovered over the COVID months that they ring really loud on the television. So thank you so much for being here. It's about 10 minutes till, and Jennifer Bullock from NBC4 will be back up here to begin the live stream. So visit among yourselves, and the rest of you in the back, get your last drink, find your seat, and we'll go live at 5 o'clock. Thank you. That's your 2-minute warning to find a seat. The bar will close.
The Columbus Metropolitan Club was founded in 1976 by 13 women leaders who wanted to be included in the community conversation. I am Sally Bloomfield, and I was one of those 13 women. Having been left out of men's clubs that focused on community issues, it was a priority for us to make the club 100% inclusive.
Today, CMC presents public policy forums every Wednesday at lunch with average attendance of more than 200 people. I'm Tony Bell, and I frequently attend forums, which are open to everyone and present relevant, current, and newsworthy topics. I'm grateful that CMC is nonpartisan and presents many perspectives on every topic.
I'm Jane Scott, President and CEO of the Columbus Metropolitan Club. CMC is open to everyone. We invite you to explore the personal and professional benefits awaiting you at the Metropolitan Club. Welcome to CMC.
Welcome to CMC.
Welcome to CMC.
Welcome to CMC.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Columbus Metropolitan Club. I'm Jennifer Bullock with NBC4, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to our in-person event today and to say hello to all of you who are watching via our live stream. The CMC Forum this afternoon is sponsored by AECOM, Live Technologies, the Green Funds of the Columbus Foundation, CODA, Realm Collaborative, The Ohio State University, Advanced Drainage Systems, Columbus Downtown Development Corporation, EDGE, the Columbus Dispatch, MKSK, and Thrive Companies, and is presented in partnership with the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission and the Columbus District Council of the Urban Land Institute. Today's CMC live streaming is made possible by the Emergency Response Fund of the Columbus Foundation in partnership with the Columbus Dispatch, PNC, and NBC4i. Thank you all. Now, we do have a very full agenda today, so we're going to get right to it. In a moment, we will hear from Keith Myers, Chair of Rapid 5, Chair ULI Columbus, and Vice President, Planning, Architecture, and Real Estate for The Ohio State University. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, so let's take a look now at Rapid 5.
This is a large-scale vision project.
We're being asked to think big.
Since you are stakeholders along this corridor, we really need to hear your insight, your moonshot ideas and your shovel-ready ideas.
What about new river crossings?
At one time, there was a river crossing at White Road.
How do we bridge over the river tracks?
Exactly.
Or underneath the river tracks?
Is there a strong desire by those on this call to allow the creek to operate as a true commuting option?
We can get under 71 there.
You'd want to connect Stringtown, White, Holton, Bohr,
from Hoover down to Lockbourne.
Highbank's connected to the system.
Tuttle to Mock Road Park.
Dempsey Road could be a possible east-west connector.
The Link Us effort, potential transit nodes.
Have the Link Us terminate at the Big Darby area, take that bus, and then ride from that point. That's game-changing in a way.
Infrastructure just in general has bifurcated cities, kept communities apart, and thinking about how we can use that same infrastructure to link cities and to bring communities together again.
Imagine taking your kayak and stopping off at a livery and it's got a cafe or a bar or something there, and then it's this overlook on a whitewater course.
Mini whitewater experience from the Edge Park.
To me, that's the place you could put that ropes adventure course.
There's an airfield here, which would be perfect to have these lift off for all these balloons. The horse track is still here.
You can get into a hot air balloon and just kind of go through the region and see it from above.
When you think about the amount of green space between Wolf Park, the Conservatory, Franklin Park, and Nelson Park, it would be a great stopping point with a lot of attractions for the development of more of a district.
Things to stop at, towns to see that you'd have never known before.
Think about it more as a region and a destination, and part of that is just in some ways telling the story about what's possible there.
You can get people on the water, they learn about it, they care about it, they're stewards of it.
The quality of the water and all of the trees along the corridor, it just shows you how much we have to work with.
Enhancing the wetlands.
Rewilding in some locations along the banks, but also kind of sensitive placement of boardwalks and overlooks.
We have egrets, herons.
More species of mussels in Darby Creek than all of Europe.
Native American mound down this way.
Part of the Underground Railroad. People that use the trails followed the sycamores along the creek.
The first African American country club in the area.
Speaking of history, Lockbourne. I mean, how cool.
I find it interesting that there are so many food deserts within those communities.
We do have a displaced population being housed around that area. A lot of them are veterans.
We've talked to all these stakeholders that have great ideas and great plans that are in the works. They've all kind of been in these individual silos. We're bringing all this information together, bringing all these people to the table.
Do we want to walk through this one more time, like on the board?
I totally agree. I think that's going to resonate with people.
Thank you all for your time and your energy and your ideas, and look forward to sharing what the vision is as it evolves.
The momentum that's going to come out of this, sky's the limit.
And now, please welcome Keith Myers.
Thank you. I'd like to begin tonight by thanking our host, the Columbus Metropolitan Club. I really couldn't imagine a better venue than this to introduce the Rapid 5 project. I also wish to thank our partners at Morpsey, Thrive Companies and Mark Wagenbrenner, Franklin County Metro Parks, and our sponsors, many of whom engaged very early in this process when the Rapid 5 was just an idea. And it's important to acknowledge the commitment of all the communities in Central Ohio for helping us see this project through. It's been a long journey. And finally, an enormous thank you to the 5 firms who embraced this idea. They brought their talents to bear and have created some incredible work that I'm anxious for all of you to see. As you're likely aware, the Central Ohio area has 5 major waterways: the Big Darby, the Scioto River, Olentangy River, Alum Creek, and Big Walnut Creek. Oddly enough, these waterways and their tributaries are generally equally spaced geographically across the region, to which I suppose we have the Wisconsin Glacier to thank. It was from this observation that an idea grew. What if it was possible to connect all 5 waterways onto a vast series of connected parks and greenways? And what if we could provide a green, sustainable framework for the continued growth of Central Ohio? And what if we could find a way to make parks and recreation facilities proximate to all the people of the region? And so the Columbus District Council of the Urban Land Institute and Morpsey agreed to partner to explore this opportunity and seek to create a unique community vision. To organize this effort and gather the input so necessary, we turned to the Neighborhood Design Center. The NDC began their work by conducting extensive and creative outreach program to gather as much understanding as possible of the wants and needs of a diverse group of stakeholders. And I would add they were able to do this during a period of COVID. The input was critical and provided a foundation for the future work. At the same time, 5 local design firms were approached and asked if they would be willing to participate. They all enthusiastically agreed, and the Rapid 5 project was born. Why does this matter? Because great cities are defined by a number of things, including great park systems. Many older cities in the United States have benefited from park systems imagined in the late 19th and early 20th century. They were planned by illustrious designers of their time, including the Olmsteds, Daniel Burnham, and others. These park systems, supported of course by the great wealth of that industrial era, came to define their cities and regions. Examples include the Chicago lakefront, the Emerald Necklace in Cleveland. It's impossible to imagine these cities without these priceless green assets. Columbus, however, is not a city that's caught up in its past. It was never a great river city or an industrial behemoth. The Columbus story is a story about the future, a young city greatly bolstered by the massive influx of young adults from all over Ohio, the country, and the world who descend upon it every year. Columbus is a 21st century city, a city of unselfish corporate leaders, of young entrepreneurs and innovators, and impassioned neighborhood leaders and residents, all of whom are interested in a collective vision of the future, unique to our city. What we'll see today is one part of that vision, a vision which may include a vast interconnected park system along 5 major waterways, a rich natural world connecting all of the people of Central Ohio. And now to breathe life into this vision, we look to the collective talent of these 5 great design firms.
Thank you, Keith. Please welcome Ted Hardesty and Tim Skimmer from the Edge Group for their Rapid 5 vision of the Big Walnut Creek corridor.
Good evening. Again, Tim Skinner with Edge. As we began our journey of uncovering what makes the Big Walnut Creek corridor unique, there were some key attributes that really started to emerge. The first one being the physical reach of this corridor. When you look at it in terms of land mass in Franklin County, it occupies nearly 1/3 of Franklin County. And also along this route, there are at least a dozen different cities, townships, municipalities, villages that touch this corridor. So it has a very long reach in terms of its corridor and tributaries. The other thing that really pops out is the fact that so much of it is currently undeveloped in terms of trail completion and access. And so you have this huge amount of population that has this amenity right at their front door, and then they can't get to it. And as part of that, I think because it's undeveloped, there's this natural beauty that is evident through this corridor. As we talked to the stakeholders, that was a term that kept emerging as we worked our way through. And it served as inspiration for us in terms of defining the character of this corridor, setting the tone of the identity of imagining the natural stone rock ledges and the layering that occurs there, and how that can show up in icons throughout the corridor.
Hello, everyone. Ted Hardesty, also with EDGE. What we're going to do here quickly is step through 6 opportunities that we've highlighted along the corridor. And we've really picked these because we think not only are they public lands, but they could be catalytic in terms of creating new connectivity for neighborhoods up and down the corridor. Moving north to south, our first one is we call Central College Landing. So we're just south of Hoover Reservoir, and we're at a location on one side of the river is the city of Westerville and some parkland that they hold. On the other side is a recently acquired piece called the Schaefer property by Metro Parks, which is an unbelievably beautiful mature woods with a deep ravine. And so really our concept here is how can we connect both sides in a way that's super sensitive to this existing landscape. So the idea of an adventure recreation opportunity with zip lines and rope courses, but providing connectivity across to both sides, including stormwater management. And also we think this open space can really help be catalytic to the future mixed-use development planned at Sunbury and Central College. Moving south to Gahanna, the folks from Gahanna are probably very familiar with Friendship Park, but it's a little hidden. It's south of Creekside and south of Granville Street. It's at the confluence of the Rocky Fork Creek and Big Walnut Creek, and it's a super cool opportunity, not unlike this confluence where we sit today. And a really interesting history too, in terms of in the 1920s, it was one of the country's first African-American country clubs. Existed that way into the 60s, and it became Gahanna's first park in 1971. So we think this can be enhanced as a gathering space, but we also think it can be this really awesome junction for the start of the Rocky Fork Trail in this location too. And here's a diagram that just shows the connection of that ultimately through Shaw Park and up Clark State Road into Jefferson Township and as far east as the Blacklick Trail, which many of you are familiar with, that exists further to the south and is planned to extend north. Next stop is Main Street, and Main Street is a prototypical opportunity when you think about Morse Road, Broad Street, Main Street, Livingston, opportunities for this greenway to intersect with future multimodal corridors that'll run east-west through the city. A big thing we want to highlight here, and I think you'll hear it for some others today, there are parallel routes like No Bixby Road shown here that provide, they're beautiful drives, but they're kind of obstructions for folks that live in neighborhoods along here to get to the greenway. So we really encourage folks to think about Cherry Bottom, Stigler, No Bixby, and Lockbourne Road as future parkways that help connectivity. And here again, a diagram of how those east-west corridors connect Blacklick Creek, Big Walnut, and west of this is the Alum Creek Trail.
Continuing on down the corridor, we mentioned No Bixby Road. This is one of the examples, NASCAR Park, of utilizing an existing asset within the community. And so if we can imagine reinvestment into NASCAR in terms of reorganizing the athletic fields that are there, increasing the recreation opportunities, but maybe most importantly, taking advantage of this site in terms of being a gateway to these neighborhoods, and imagine an iconic piece of architecture there that can serve as a community gathering place, but also be part of the linked us corridor route and be a transit hub, and so be a place that can literally connect those residents not only to the river, but to the community as a whole. Next stop, the village of Obetz, a fastly growing community in central Ohio with a lot of great resources. As part of that growth, the need for recreation space is very evident. And so, as they leverage new development and preserve open space to provide that needed recreation space, but think of recreation in terms of an economic investment and an opportunity, a destination that can serve as this whitewater recreation course or adventure experience. And then across the river, the connection with Metro Park lands, and considering what usually is considered as passive recreation and how we can activate that more with sculpture gardens and other activities. And then finally, Lockbourne. Lockbourne is a community that was founded in the 1830s as part of the old Ohio to Erie Canal connection. And imagine this as a space where you can tell the story of commerce, that you can take Commerce Street and reinvest in terms of a cultural center, of a retail center where you can go grab a scoop of ice cream and grab a bicycle and explore and learn about the history of commerce from indigenous population to the canal system to Rickenbacker and the future of trade. And then we'll leave you with an image of the canal lock system there and imagine engaging with this great resource. Thank you.
Please welcome now Michael Bongiorno with AECom, who will present the Rapid 5 vision for the Alum Creek corridor.
Thank you, Jennifer. Good evening, everyone. The Alum Creek corridor is a gem hidden in plain sight. It's one of those creeks that you're really not aware of if you're driving along the perimeter of it. And the other thing about Alum Creek to remember is that it has a ton of hidden assets that we are seeking to reveal through this project by elevating those assets, awareness of them, and connection to them to the betterment of the community. I'm going to take you on a really fast 4-chapter journey through our concept. And I want to let you know that our team really started with a very deep dive into research, looking at the ecological assets, historical and cultural assets, social assets, and mobility and investment assets. One of the things to know about Alum Creek is that it is the most socioeconomically and racially diverse corridor in the region. It also factors high in the social vulnerability index. At the same time, there are a lot of partner institutions along the corridor that can help create connections between need and help. And the other thing to know about the Alum Creek corridor is that it played a major role on the Underground Railroad as a liquid line to freedom, and as being a so-called path to Sycamore Trail, which was sort of an earlier version of GPS in a sense, because trees would be illuminated at night by the moon, and that allow people safe passage through. And so it has a tortured history, quite frankly, of oppression and liberation. And so we are seeking to explore how to kind of better that through the project. We extensively engaged in community engagement and workshops by looking at the segment, doing a deep dive on the segment physically, but then breaking the map down into segments and working with individual communities along those segments through a variety of workshops that helped my team, who were from across the country, and we worked this entirely virtually, synopsize those thoughts into actions. Supporting that as well, in addition to the research that the Neighborhood Design Center has done, the engagement that they've done, we held stakeholder surveys for individuals and communities along the corridor. So we had 6 different workshops. We had 35 different organizations participating and a number of individuals. That led to what we're calling an equity toolbox, which is a set of actions and objectives that we use to kind of help tell the story of the document as it moves way through it. And there were a set of goals and strategies that we were looking to achieve that were fully informed by the community. These weren't like necessarily our ideas, these were the community ideas to elevate the green and blue assets, the ecological assets, to elevate the history of the corridor and provide course-correcting actions, to elevate community connections between institutions and the communities themselves, and then elevating economic opportunities in a way that is much more equitable and does not cause displacement and gentrification. So I'm going to take you through, some of the sites that we were thinking about. So we looked at prototypical sites, catalytic sites, one in Westerville, one at Cape Columbus, called the Cape Columbus Outpost, one at what we're calling the historic Hanford Village District, and then finally one at Three Creeks Metro Park, which we're calling the Three Creeks Arts Park. At the Westerville Alum Creek connector, it was all about the relationship between development and ecology, in particular water quality. And so there's a signature oxbow at the creek there that floods. That's an opportunity for a wetland park, but it also is an opportunity to look at how development can occur around that amenity. And then looking at also how we weave in recreation opportunities and public art opportunities into the experience of the trail itself. And I should note that the condition of getting from street level to the trail in general on Alum Creek is absolutely abysmal. So that's something that will need to be addressed with things like creative overlooks and bike ramps. Cape Columbus, it was all about the relationship between an institution and the community's needs, particularly students. So Cape Columbus works on a partnership model. That partnership could lead to Battelle creating an outdoor science classroom associated with for kids where they can learn about river ecology. I think the highlight, the sort of like high point of what we were looking at to address in this was equity. And I should draw your attention to, does anyone know about Hanford Village and its history? Thank you. Hanford Village was an African-American, self-governed African-American town with home ownership and businesses that in the 1960s, we blasted right through with a highway, decimating the community. And so a part of our proposal is we want you to imagine reconfiguring and untangling that mess of highway infrastructure and allowing the neighborhood to stitch back together under it and through it, as well as being able to connect to the creek, and at the same time expand it to create a new development that would use the underutilized space between Nelson Road and the creek to turn it into a community that is driven by the community, the development that's driven by the community, that is primarily Black-owned, Black-operated, that provides affordable housing options, and has a very strong transit-oriented development in coordination with Linkus and CODA on Main Street. And imagine, if you will, beyond that, taking what would currently be considered eyesores of the grain silos on East Main Street and turning them into an incredible intervention with a piece of industrial archaeology to turn it into an incredible community center for the district. Again, more connections through Bexley and the Franklin Park Conservatory. And then finally, at the end, culminating in the Three Creeks Arts Park, which is the confluence of the Three Creeks together, creating a Storm King. If you're familiar with Storm King in upstate New York, creating a giant arts park that's all about culture, arts, recreation, and ecology. And with that, I am probably slightly under time, but I'm going to say that, yes, points, anybody? With that, my colleagues here are going to need a lot more time, so I'm going to, we'll see you guys in the back room, but my best friend forever, Jeff Pangonis, and this other guy are going to take you through their thing.
Thank you, Michael. Next up, please welcome Andrew Overbeck and Jeff Pangonis from MKSK for their Rapid 5 vision for the Olentangy River corridor.
Thanks, Michael. I appreciate that. MKSK had the great fortune of collaborating with the communities and stakeholders along the Olentangy River corridor. And that's really the central spine, not only of Columbus, but of Franklin County and the entire region. So we're excited to share with you tonight an overview of this vision for the Olentangy River. And to start that off, I'd like to share this video presentation.
For generations in Central Ohio, our river corridors and interstates have physically divided our community, acting as barriers to access and connectivity. The Rapid 5 project unlocks the potential to redefine Central Ohio according to our shared natural resources by reconnecting with our 5 major river corridors. By creating a unified vision for the Olentangy and Scioto River corridors and adjacent neighborhoods, we can strive for a more equitable and livable future where all Central Ohioans have safe, easy access to places that uplift them and improve their well-being along one central greenway. Our vision for the Olentangy River corridor is framed by 5 key pillars, which are the foundation for our proposal. Equity and inclusion. As the central north-south spine through Central Ohio, the Olentangy corridor has the potential to provide access to neighborhood amenities where they are deficient and to serve as a communal space that is welcoming for people of all backgrounds. Activation and recreation. The corridor should provide a breadth of experiences that meet the health, wellness, social, and cultural needs of the community through active and passive recreation. Connectivity and mobility. We need to facilitate a more connected community by creating east-west linkages that extend outward from the river, connecting with adjacent neighborhoods through an integrated multimodal network. Lifelong learning. The river should be a place for curiosity, exploration, and learning, with ample opportunities for people of all ages to engage directly with the river. Ecology. To prepare our community to be more resilient for the future, we need to take a restorative approach to fill gaps in the ecosystem along the Olentangy River corridor, creating one continuous corridor with abundant biodiversity, healthy water quality, and ample tree canopy. These pillars come to life through 15 pulse points that we've identified along the river, which are existing and future activity sites that require renewed thought around their program and design. The locations of the pulse points maximize their potential community impact and create needed amenities, with the goal of creating a pulse point for every neighborhood along the corridor. Let's explore 6 pulse points and how they advance our guiding pillars. Expanding Antrim Park's path systems and allowing more access to and across the Olentangy River will improve the overall park experience. By expanding and reshaping the existing fish and wildlife habitats, we can promote plant and animal diversity along the corridor. The Bethel Road corridor has a diverse population with many different races and ethnicities represented. To celebrate the diverse community fabric, we'll create a cultural gathering place by expanding the existing recreation center into a community center, along with creating cultural gardens for events such as farmers markets and festivals. The existing job hub of the Ohio Health Campus and Riverside Methodist Hospital is supplemented to develop a complete riverfront neighborhood. The density of the development allows for some park space on site, while a new riverfront park on the west side of the Olentangy River and easy connections across the river to Clinton-Como Park provide ample green space for existing and future residents and workers to enjoy. The Hudson and OSU Learning Lab features a large playscape with regional appeal for all ages. An exciting adventure park and festival lawn will accompany a rock climbing wall, multi-season garden, river overlook, boathouse, and community center, as well as kayak launch points and river crossings. A new east-west connection along Hudson Street will connect the new Hudson Adventure Park to Mock Park in Linden, making active transportation more accessible for the residents in between. At the Scioto Mile, there's an opportunity to further activate the urban riverfront through the development of a local business and entrepreneurship hub where people can dine and shop right along the river. An urban beach acts as a backdrop for lounging and recreation, where people can enjoy stellar views of downtown. Finally, the central pulse point of the Olentangy River corridor takes shape at Confluence Park, which is adjacent to existing neighborhoods as well as new development momentum. A sweeping circular pedestrian walkway, the One Columbus Bridge, spans across the Olentangy and Scioto Rivers, providing spectacular views of the city. The new Confluence Park extends south, creating frontage along Broad Street to serve as a neighborhood park and to directly connect Franklinton and Hilltop residents with the riverfront. It would be a hub for youth recreation with an indoor field house and outdoor sports facilities. Together, we can create a connected, low-stress mobility network that provides access and common ground for all, that offers spaces for health, reflection, recreation, and togetherness, that substantially enhances the ecology and habitat of our community, and that serves as a lifelong learning opportunity. creating one central greenway.
Thanks for sharing our vision here with us. I'd like to close by, thank you, emphasizing a few key points, community-oriented takeaways from the study by MKSK. First, I really want to emphasize a new 50-acre point of pride, crown jewel park, and community gathering place at the confluence of the Scioto and Olentangy Rivers, truly connecting the north and south sides of the river directly to Broad Street and beyond. Second, 2,700 acres of reimagined and modernized north and south gateway metro parks at High Bank and Scioto Grove, acting as regional magnets to visitors and tourists from outside Franklin County. Third, more than 150 miles of healthy streets and accessible braided trails connecting the Rapid 5 corridors to all Central Ohioans. Fourth, more than 1,000 acres of newly energized and cultural parks in and around our most diverse neighborhoods. Fifth, finally, and with a focus on equity in housing, employment, and health, 75 acres of mixed income, job-rich, transit-served greenway neighborhoods along the corridor, serving as many as 9,000 residents with 17,000 new jobs. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew and Jeff. Please welcome Kim Way and Margot Jacobs from NBBJ, who will present their Rapid 5 vision for the Scioto River corridor.
Thank you. Good afternoon and evening, everyone. Margot and I are really excited today about the opportunity to share our vision for the Scioto River corridor. Our vision is aspirational and intended to inspire ways of thinking about what is possible for the corridor, dreaming without boundaries, thinking outside of the box, setting the stage for a multitude of ideas that can be implemented over time. The opportunity is now upon us to renew the Scioto River and the lands along it, celebrating its history, culture, and geography, building on past and recent investments and new emerging opportunities. Our vision seeks to complete a continuous open space connection along one or both sides of the river. The Scioto River and its watershed are integral in serving the region's water resources, including drinking water, and fundamental to human health, wildlife habitats, and recreational needs. Our vision seeks to promote and protect this important resource. The corridor is rich in biodiversity, including the Scioto River flyway, which attracts over 200 species of migrating birds. Our vision for the Scioto River corridor not only supports this biodiversity, but creates even more green space and habitat for wildlife to flourish and grow. Franklin County and Central Ohio are fortunate to have a number of world-class assets that attract visitors from around the world and fuel our region's tourism and economic development. A number of these assets are located along the Scioto River and will be a catalyst for the further development and connectivity along the corridor, including 3 of our region's world-class Metro Park system assets, Quarry Trails, Scioto Audubon, and Scioto Grove Metro Parks. Connectivity is key to our vision and linking all of the great assets and future opportunities we see along the river, especially the east-west connections that connect our diverse neighborhoods to the river corridor.
So in support of the overall Rapid 5 benefits, our vision for the Scioto River embraces an additional subset of opportunities. First, celebrating water, acknowledging the importance of the river and associated water bodies. Second, capitalizing on world-class assets, the existing resources along the river supporting the economic vitality of the region. Highlighting natural resources, celebrating its inherent environmental qualities. Expanding the green corridor, highlighting the opportunities existing along the river, intertwining them, and connecting them back to the regional watershed. Connecting communities, reinforcing that north-south and east-west connection along and to the river and its adjoining communities and neighborhoods, and ultimately creating a destination to remember, braiding water, cultural, recreational, and ecological opportunities together. The diversity of the Scioto River corridor is what makes it unique, and the vision plan seeks to celebrate that uniqueness in a series of larger opportunity districts, from the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium District, Anchor in the north, to the Arts and Adventure Park and Metro Park District to the south. This would also be stitched together by a mobility corridor, rethinking Riverside Drive and adjacent roadways running the entire length of the Scioto River that you see here in red, to promote personal and public transit as a backbone to the river armature with expansive trails and access points highlighted in yellow, extending the armature east and west, providing equal access to everyone. And along the way, we highlight development opportunities, from a new mixed-use training village to Artwork Live and creative mixed use to sustainable living and ecotech corridors, highlighted in pink. So quickly giving an overview of the corridor, moving from north to south, and I'll try to speak quickly. We propose water demonstration gardens along the corridor to aid in improving water quality while providing unique educational experiences, and environmental learning centers and outdoor classrooms to bolster connections to nature for our youth and people of all ages, as well as specific interventions such as the Muirfield Inn and Event Center, a multi-purpose facility to host year-round social events overlooking this unique part of the Scioto River. In addition to, or sometimes alongside, the mobility corridor, we want to expand the greenway, incorporating new crossings, overlooks, and in some cases, cantilevered trails, such as in the area from Dublin to Griggs Reservoir Park. We also propose filter forest along the corridor, located in interstitial spaces, especially along freeways, that will contribute to the beautification of the urban environment, as well as improving air quality, increasing biodiversity, and boosting environmental resiliency. Expanding the existing rowing venue at the Griggs Reservoir into a state-of-the-art rowing training center with an athletic village setting, with the potential to host national regattas and races, and to re-envision the first of many quarries along this corridor, such as a proposed art park and wetlands as a natural extension of the Quarry Trails Metro Park, filled with gardens and restorative wetlands as a backdrop for discovering art while immersing oneself in the natural environment. With the north side of Griggs Dam focused on the flat rowing activities, we propose incorporating a whitewater series experience south of the dam, with the starting point in the expansion of the quarry trails used as a bypass channel, flowing recirculated water into a whitewater rapids course that then merges back into the river, incorporating trails, overlooks, and step seatings for gathering and viewing the spectacular intervention. Further down the river, into the heart of downtown, we see opportunities to expand and enhance the already important Confluence Park through increased park amenities and placemaking opportunities that include highlighting historic and native riverine ecologies. A Franklinton 315 cap located between the rail corridor north of Broad Street and an extended State Street will reconnect bifurcated communities of East and West Franklinton across 315, promoting equity as well as creating mixed use and park development opportunities. Floating farms as an exemplary demonstration of sustainable food production increases access to food. And habitat bridges to be strategically located along the river to serve as wildlife corridors and increased outdoor open space for the community. And taking advantage of another quarry location and dramatic landscape to create yet another adventure park with rock walls, caves, and water features that would be ideal for extreme adventure opportunities. And just to the west of Franklinton Cap, we imagine a Grandview Avenue Freeway Park, a new type of park to connect communities while improving air quality and promoting public health. In this last reach, we see an expanded Metro Park area focused on restorative estuaries and environmental preservation alongside a mixed-use development, integrating ecology with clean technologies in a healthy living setting. And building on this idea, we also see a sustainable energy, waste, and water facility, leveraging the nexus between waste, water, and accessible renewable energy, placing Central Ohio as a leader in resiliency and environmental quality. And perhaps most importantly, along the corridor, we see an amazing opportunity for the creation of neighborhood gateways as a distinctive approach for communities themselves to design how they reflect, embrace, and promote the character and diversity of each neighborhood into a series of access points, trails, parks, plazas, or landmarks. Together, this not only employs the strength of each community, but seizes the opportunity for a collective identity and future vision of the river. And we will leave you with this image of what might be what we think is the crown jewel of the Southern Reach. This is the area south of Route 104, reimagined as a world-class music and performance arts venue, integrating new connections to adjoining neighborhoods in an ecologically rich setting with walkways and bridges through restorative wetlands, celebrating the Scioto River to create one of many destinations to remember. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim and Margot. Please welcome Brian Bernstein and Carmine Russo from Realm Collaborative to present their Rapid 5 vision for the Big Darby Creek corridor.
Great. Thank you for having us. We are very excited to share our vision for the Big Darby corridor, which is really the environmental crown jewel of Central Ohio.
This national and state protected scenic river is home to a diversity of wildlife from native birds, fish habitat, and endangered mussel populations. And what we recognize and what we should all recognize is that it's our job to preserve the pristine ecological character of this corridor for future generations. There are challenges that are present, and many of you know some of these challenges, from the development pressures that are, being pressed upon some of these undeveloped properties. We've also seen some stream and tributary degradation over the years through the Clover Groff and the Hell Branch Run tributaries, which are experiencing some restoration efforts in the last few years. And there still are miles of trails, Central Ohio Greenway trails that still need to be connected.
And some of the opportunities that we uncovered through this process was about the opportunity for greater connectivity within the region, greater accessibility to the region for all residents of Central Ohio, and then a celebration of both existing destinations in the region and ones that we think could be created. And so as our team got around some sort of bigger idea, we thought there's an opportunity to say that there have amazing metro parks there today, but what if we thought about this as an amazing region?
And in developing this region, we started to look at these regions throughout the country: Napa Valley, Yellowstone, the Finger Lakes, many others. And they have this very strong identity. And we really believe that there need to be a strong identity for this region.
And so with that, we're excited to present to you the Darby Creek's region, a place where everyone can come and explore and share in both the metro parks, not only the pristine environment that's there, but destinations within the region itself.
Looking closer at the region, we developed a few two macro landscape typologies. To the north are the uplands, characterized by prairie grass uplands along the edges of the stream. As you look towards the south of Route 40, you get a lot more of that tree cover, some of the more native wildlife habitat, and that was called the lower woodlands.
So as we started to put this together in a plan, and we looked at the upperlands, starting at Plain City and moving south, it was the opportunity to think about more active uses, things like canoeing, which does exist today, but how can we accentuate that? Or how can we leverage Plain City as a location, create perhaps a brewery there that sits along the river in that area? And then also start to think about the woodlands on the south. How does the character of that landscape dictate different types of uses? One example we came up with was using things like yurts. Some of you might be familiar with this out in the wilds. How do we do that here? It's an environmentally sensitive way to allow for lodging in an area like this. And so we developed what we thought were 4 very clear strategies on how to achieve this vision.
So strategy 1 was create the greenbelt. This was really about connecting some of those Central Ohio Greenway trails that have yet to be connected. Something that we also thought was really important was creating a loop. So we connected some of the trails along the Hell Branch watershed all the way south to Harrisburg. And in doing so, we also have some strong east-west connections that help to create a little bit smaller micro regions within the region. Number 2 is to celebrate the destinations. So there are already some existing villages that are very strong and very identifiable, and we thought that was really important. We thought about adding a few other micro villages that might have small eateries in addition to inns and different types of bed and breakfast to help people really experience the region even in a stronger way.
And so what you see here is one example of a new destination that we thought we could create. There's an existing quarry just on the east side of Plain City and a bridge that exists there. And that's like the last little bit of connecting the Heritage Trail to Plain City. And so an opportunity to create both an active metro park, active recreation, as well as create greater connectivity to Plain City itself. As we move south, looking at what we call Darby Village along Broad Street, and when you hit the corridor, the opportunity to celebrate the Galbraith family history of equestrian. There's an old horse track out there that exists today as the bike trail. Could we create a big lodge there that celebrated equestrian history, became a unique destination and part of the identity of the region? And then also looking at Georgesville, which is at the confluence of the Big and Little Darby Rivers, a great destination actually where the mussels exist today to see some of the most ecologically diverse species in the area, but also an area where you can connect to Georgesville and perhaps get a bite to eat and have a destination within that area.
So strategy 3 was create the journey. We recognize there's about 25 miles from the northern part of Plain City to Harrisburg. And so within that, we really wanted to create accessibility for all. And we thought that it could be really interesting to have more modes of transportation, different ways for people to experience the corridor, from biking to maybe having some gondolas within the treetops, or even getting into some hot air balloons to really experience the entire region from above, from a bird's eye view.
And so our last strategy was to create a tourism district. As you know, the Big Darby Accord exists through multiple jurisdictions to preserve the area, but what if we thought regionally as multiple counties within the watershed to help create an economic driver to share amongst each of these different jurisdictions within the region? And with that, we'll leave you with, we all had to have a hot air balloon shot, so we put ours at the end.
We were the first ones to have hot air balloons.
Right, in our minds, right. And so with that, we hope that we've encouraged you to think about the greater potential of this as a region, hopefully a place that maybe you come for a day or stay for a weekend. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian and Carmine. Now let's welcome William Murdock, Rapid 5 Program Management Committee and Executive Director of the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, MORPC.
Well, thank you. Wow. What we've just seen here is just the tip of the iceberg. These Columbus design firms have poured their heart and their minds and significant resources and time into Rapid 5. Let's give them another round of applause. Central Ohio, it's time to raise our expectations for what's possible in our community. You know, as planners, sometimes it's very tempting just to focus on connecting lines on a map when we're building trails or roads. But what Rapid 5 has accomplished is to invigorate those lines with stories to bring them to life. We're so proud of these firms. They've been backed by so much public input and community leadership. These designs are inspiring. They honor history, culture, nature, equity, and connectivity. You know, Rapid 5 expands our own imaginations too, and it paints a bold vision of our future. And you know, as Keith Myers says, this is an incredible gift for the community to be able to dream big without boundaries. And since Keith gave us that spark for Rapid 5, I think we should recognize him as a great leader at ULI and a big thinker in our region. And of course, I'm grateful for our team at MORPC, Kirsten Carr and Alicia Gaston at ULI, Aaron Prosser's here somewhere, and grateful to the Columbus Metropolitan Club. But looking across this room, so many of you helped build the legacy that these firms are building on and imagining, so thank you for that. You know, in our work at MORPC, we see firsthand just how blessed we are in Central Ohio with communities that are thinking about the future. 75 of them are our members, counties, cities, villages, townships, many are here. We have passionate elected officials, incredible professionals who are working together to lift the whole region. And the proof of that, this is a great example. Most every major community in Franklin County invested in Rapid 5, not just for a specific project, but for this regional vision. And I want you to remember that. This is not a plan. This is a regional vision. These concepts are here to inspire our creative thinking, how we can build on the success, reinvent, and reinvigorate our rivers. And we want to create a little urgency and a little excitement to get this done too. This is about ecology. This is about development. It's also about the region. And when you see these designs, think of them as replicable across the region. For example, if Gahanna sees something maybe on the Alum Creek, like an ecological learning center, they could take that idea. If Dublin sees a whitewater park and they want to take that from the Big Walnut, these designs are designed to do that. And I tell you, there are people from Delaware and Lancaster and Somerset and Marysville here who are looking too at these ideas, and that's the whole idea. But what I want to finish with is this needs to be about equity and access. And I think it's painful for us to recognize, but important, that we're one of the most economically and racially segregated regions. And why this is important with Rapid 5 is when you look at how they infuse that into their designs. Examples like Friendship Park or Hanford Village, to referencing the Underground Railroad or Indigenous connections, Rapid 5 gives us motivation to do more, to tell that story of Central Ohio, and to make this system a reflection of who we are and who we want to be as a region. So what's next? Real quick, a big vision can't live on a shelf. We all need to talk about these possibilities. It's all going to be online tonight, and that's where you come in. We need all of you to dig into the ideas. There's 250 pages of them. Let us know what you like, what you want more of, what you don't. We've got a social pinpoint website set up for your comments. The first time we did this, we didn't have images, and we got 2,000 ideas. I'm expecting a whole lot more now that you see everything you've seen today. We also want you to get out and explore, and we're excited to announce we're making it easy and fun by partnering with Experience Columbus and a company called Bandwango on a Trails Passport program for everyone. Hey, it's an exciting time to be in Central Ohio. We've raised our expectations on so much. Link us with mass transit. Central Ohio Greenways wants to build 500 more miles of trails. This really wants to activate them. We're not the region we were 10 years ago, so we need to think about the region we want to be 10 years from now and beyond and really raise those expectations. So thanks for joining us here, and we're looking forward to the conversations and the work ahead. To our social time, which I know we want because we want to talk to the architectural firms that are going to be hosting the displays. You'll have a chance to talk with them, get their cards. But before we break, it's CMC's custom to include questions from the audience, and we've got time to do this. So for those in the room, please step up to the microphone and introduce yourself, ask a question, and don't make long editorial comments. CMC's Lainey Cuthbert, who's there, is going to curate questions from our live stream audience. And Lainey, do you have our first question?
I do, thank you, William. Kelly Thiel asks, some ideas seem like the impact might have an effect on the river and the area surrounding it. For example, Antrim has an existing tree canopy that might be impacted by the building that was suggested in the project. Can you comment on that?
Sure. Again, these are visions, not plans. So to be specific is difficult. But there's, I think, in the MKSK proposals, you saw that there was a pretty large commitment to restoring tree canopy in and along the corridor. And I think there may be places where you can make an intervention and without really causing any damage to the existing tree canopy. I think they were quite clear that. And it's true in Central Ohio that, you know, we really do want to continue to increase our tree canopy throughout the region. I think it'd be unfortunate if we affected it negatively with any of these proposals.
And as you dig into this, this is the exact kind of question we expect to ask, because the ecology of these streams are at the heart of what we're talking about here. They're the whole point. And our work at MORPC, we do air quality and water quality, and when we look at what these firms did and their ideas, I think there's an opportunity to expand preservation, to do things differently so we can access these wonderful amenities, but also protect them at the same time. And we hope this drives those conversations and brings energy to that very point.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Fox, Community Strategy Partners. And my question is, in addition to, you've invited us all to get online and take a look at the 250 pages of visioning. In addition to doing that and making suggestions or providing feedback, what else can everyone in this room and everyone else watching do to help advance this and actually move it towards implementation?
You first. Okay, me first this time. That's a great question. We do want you to dig into it, and I joke about the 250 pages, but when you see the ideas, some of them are just out of this world. Some of them are so basic that we should just already be doing. And for you to really dig into that and see how that applies to your favorite stream corridor or the community you're in, that's the point. Take that, join a parks group. I know our Central Ohio Greenways Board is digging into it. But talk to your communities, see how this fits into their plans, see how you might make their plans better. I know they want to hear from you too. That's going to be a big part of just engaging in this conversation. Now that we know what might be possible, I think that's where the energy comes from.
One comment on the 250 pages. It was not what we expected. These guys got going and they just couldn't stop. So when it came in on June 11th, nobody was more surprised than we were. So. But it's amazing work, and I encourage all of you to look at it.
Hi, my name is Doreen Whitley Rogers. I'm with Esri. And I have a question about the scale of these ideas. I noticed a theme where a lot of it's focused on attracting people to our waterways, which is important, but also the element of a lot of these waterways, particularly the Scioto, is a tributary to the Ohio River, which is a major tributary to the Mississippi River, where a lot of what we do there can have a huge impact positively on water quality, especially through what's been proven through OSU wetlands in terms of what we can do with wetlands along these areas. So I'm curious if there's any long-term thinking about envisioning the scale of this project on how what we do on these rivers can impact the larger watershed.
So it's beyond the scope of what we're trying to do to extend, down to the Ohio and beyond. But I think what the firms did, if you read through the material they put together, almost all of them really focused on water quality going into the tributaries. I think Edge mentioned Hell Branch and some other things. No, it was Realm that was working over there, yeah. But they mentioned the impacts of the tributaries just to these water systems and how important it is to deal with water quality really at the point source, further upstream. And so in the material, there's a lot of conversation about the need to manage water quality.
All right, we have time for...
I'll read those 250 pages then, thanks.
It took me a weekend, so.
And I know we have one last question from the only person in the room with more energy than me, and that's
Thanks for
Zach
the lead up.
Woodruff.
So Zach Woodruff, Director of Development and Public Service for the City of Whitehall. First, I want to congratulate the 5 firms for creating and presenting such a visionary, inspirational plan or idea under this. As a inner ring suburb, I guess I would want to know, could you comment on how you believe this can come to life, become a reality, especially in areas where there's already a significant amount of infrastructure and development already in place?
I mean, I think one way, of course, is through local government parks, districts, and metro parks looking at this. But that's not what we're talking about here with a lot of these ideas. A lot of them are public-private partnerships. Whitehall's done a really good job at this. Looking at some of these opportunities for development and preservation or development and recreation that are adjacent to each other, I think there's new sources of investment and partners that can be unlocked when you look at kind of the scope of some of these ideas, especially in areas that are built up or have historically turned their back to their creeks. I think there's a great opportunity for that.
Right. Okay. Doug, Jennifer? Okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much to all of our design firms and for all of your questions as well. We hope that you found today's forum to be enlightening and informative, but also just a really exciting time for the future of Central Ohio. And once again, we want to thank today's forum sponsors, that is AECOM, Live Technologies, the Green Funds of the Columbus Foundation, CODA, Realm Collaborative, The Ohio State University, Advanced Drainage Systems, MKSK, Columbus Downtown Development Corporation, Edge, the Columbus Dispatch, and Thrive Companies, who are generously hosting our beverages this evening. Yes. And to our partners, Morpsey and ULI Columbus, and to CMC live streaming sponsor, the Emergency Response Fund of the Columbus Foundation, with support from the Columbus Dispatch, PNC, and NBC4I. We thank you all for all of your support. And finally, our special appreciation to our speakers, Keith Myers, William Murdock, and representatives from EDGE, AECOM, MKSK, NBBJ, and Realm Collaborative, who will be hosting their boards around the room so you can explore their plans with them a little bit longer. So we thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday at noon as CMC hosts another community conversation. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the evening.